What did I see? What did I hear? What did I feel?
So the question that we ask ourselves is not what's wrong with our community, but what happened? What happened? What we're doing here today is the gathering of traditional owners that is in partnership with the GONA, the Gathering of Native Americans, that was conceptualized and developed in Turtle Island. So it's crossed over the water here, and the GOTO follows 4 main themes. Belonging, how do we create a sense of safety together? Mastery, how do we talk about the hard issues our families, our communities face and build off the resilient factors? Interdependence, how do we start weaving our stories of resilience and strength together to create a positive, healthy vision for our families and communities? And generosity, how do we take care of ourselves in order to be positive change agents within our community? So when we're talking about wellness and healing in our community, we're talking about the historical trauma. And part of the historical trauma is alcoholism, substance abuse, suicide, bullying, all the forms of violence that are impacting our communities. And what the GOTO does, it helps us take a step back and look at the concept of what happened, not what's wrong with our community, but what happened here to cause this dysfunction and twisting of traditional norms within our community. So the GOTO helps us look at protective factors. How do we increase the protective factors within communities to tackle these issues? The GOTO also helps us look at the resilient factors and build off the strengths of the community. For a long time, a lot of programs look at the deficit approaches of things, and that's not really sustainable. That's not really long-term change. The GOTO and what Baabayn is doing here is looking at how can we build off the resilient factors within the community. What is working and how can we enhance that to amplify that going forward? This is a grassroots effort. This process was developed, conceptualized, and intended for grassroots community members doing this work.
We were told to not talk. Don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. Shh, don't tell the secret. Shh, don't say what's going on here. Shh, nobody needs to know our business, right? So we're undoing the legacy of that by asking ourselves, what did I see? What did I hear? What did I feel?
We're not going to teach you nothing new, but we're going to remind you of the historical resilience that you carry and create space to affirm that.
We're merely going to hold up a mirror, if you will, an invisible mirror to reflect back what is already here.
Historical trauma happens to lateral violence. Lateral violence impacts our families, our communities. We do it to each other. We learn that process and we get really advanced in how to tear each other down. Every action has an equal opposite reaction. Historical trauma, historical resilience. Lateral violence, lateral goodness. What happens when families and communities are traumatized, that we look at what's the next fire that we need to put out. If that happens in families, that's become normalized. So where's the drama? Where's the chaos? I kind of need that chaos to feel a sense of belonging. Sometimes we manufacture it without even knowing it. So mastery helps us to take a step back and say, hey, how am I creating my own chaos? Because if I can create my own chaos, I can also create my own peace. What happens in our communities, right? Because of the trauma, it's normalized to pull each other down, right? And without even knowing, because we love our relatives, we think that's the normal way to show love, is tear each other down without even knowing it. That's how insidious it is. So the question that we ask ourselves is not what's wrong with our community, but what happened? What happened to our community caused this structure? What happened in my family? What happened to my father? Why was he an alcoholic? Why wasn't he there? What happened to that context? Once you start going down that road, you start understanding the context of things. It's part of the stolen generation, Vietnam veteran. Guys called alcohol and drugs. So you start getting a wider context to understand it, and it's not shaming and blaming, right? It's understanding, that's where they come from. He did the best he could to what he had. I need to understand that, accept that, and forgive him. Once you do that, you take that power away from those things, right? And once you acknowledge that, you bring that power back to yourself. My kids will never see me drinking alcohol or drugs, never using, abusing. I've seen that my whole life growing up, but in one generation, my kids will never see that. In one generation, that changes.
I know what Don is saying, that his children will never see him drink. And yet, sometimes they might be influenced. They might be influenced. So it's about resiliency. How do we strengthen our young ones to make healthy choices? And for us who are living a good life, to resist the trap of blaming ourselves when our children do drink and drug and participate in risky behavior.
We'll do an activity here so we can kind of feel and test it out. But the yes, but would agree and then knock down real quick. Yeah, that's a good idea, but it'll never happen. And then we can say yes, and yes, that's a great idea, and we need to think about this. You can see how that yes, but say that's great, but it's never gonna happen. So right away, you're like, oh. Where were you going? Mexico, and they didn't want you to go. It's dangerous. Oh, so they put the yes, but, and they put that right in there. Other people were. New York, what happened? Did you make it there? You did, all right. You persevered through it. All right. Now take a step back and just think about applying this mentality to the healing work that you're doing as an organization. How can you operationalize the yes and?
Your objective is to build the strongest and tallest tower.
Part of this process is not necessarily how tall it was. The main success is how did everyone work together. So in your teams, you're going to sit with your team right now, and you're going to be asking these questions. So what worked and what happened? What happened?
We're building our tool belts to make a strategic plan. So what do we bring in order to make that vision a reality?
Draw our community. Take the time to draw everything you want. And again, creative drawing is fabulously encouraged.
When we're impacted by trauma, one of the first things that is taken away from us is our ability to vision. Because what happens is that we go to the next crisis, the next fire, and the next fire without even thinking about that.
You think we're going to wait for solutions to come from government. The solutions aren't going to come from there, but these plans that you're developing from the grassroots, those partners and allies rise up, then you have a grassroots community plan that's going to empower those. What you're doing here, this is sovereignty. This is liberation work. This is taking ownership of your own healing. This is a practice skill, right? Because someone who's traumatized, it's hard to see 5 years, let alone the next day, right? So it's a practice skill. So we're asking ourselves to stretch ourselves a little bit.
We're doing a visioning artwork. It's going to vision health, a model of health and well-being for community.
So this would be like a blueprint, right? When you build a house, there's always a blueprint of where you want to go, a plan. Each person plays a role in the vision of the community, brings gifts and talents and skills and story to it, but they're connected by a common vision.
Sometimes in our communities we say, oh, that's never going to happen. Because it's ingrained, that negative thinking. That's just how things are going to be, right? But you can see that change is possible.
What did I see? What did I hear? What did I feel?
I saw laughter. I saw joy when people were dancing. Some people felt a little awkward, a little shame, right? Getting out there, moving a little bit, but they did it. And they had a smile. So the question that we ask ourselves is not what's wrong with our community, but what happened? What happened?
We're stronger together. than apart.
We're about building each other up and not tearing each other down.
This is sovereignty. This is liberation work. This is taking ownership of your own healing. The only people who are going to heal us is ourselves.
This is about how to hold each other accountable and how to compassionately help each other.
It's never too late to have a positive childhood, no matter what happened in our lives.
I believe everyone in this room can heal. It's just how you see healing and how you hunger for healing, how you want to show people healing.
What did I see? What did I hear? What did I feel?
I've learnt so much, and I'll take all this with me in my heart as well.
I think this has been an incredibly, immeasurably valuable experience for all of us, and we're really, really grateful.
I think this would have been the best training session that I've ever had.
And you have a story to tell, right? You should tell your story. And you should encourage other people to find their story.